Hey everyone, it's Nonso, and today I want to show you how to plot shots taken in a football match in Microsoft Power BI. Say you're a fan of football like me, and a friend has provided you with a data set, and he asks that you present a plot of the shots taken in the match. At the end of the day, you're expected to present something visually appealing, such as this. And this has gotten you thinking, yes, you're knowledgeable in writing Python scripts, but you want to generate this visual in Power BI. So the question is, how do you go about this? Let me show you how. So first off, we're going to download the data set we're going to be using. So I'm going to drop a link to it in the description below so you can download it and follow along as well. So the data set we're using is a start from data. So once the link takes you to this site, you need to go to file, or rather, you need to go to code, and then you just download this. So once that's downloading, and that's it. That's downloading right now. So once you're done downloading that, you have your data set with you. So I'm going to show you how mine is. So this is my data set unzipped. So this is the license which comes with like start from data, and this is your data which you need to work with. So once you come here, you see event data, matches, competitions. So since this is short we want to plot, we're going to go to event data. So once you go to event data, you might want a preview of your data. Note that all your data is in JSON format. So say I want to see this, you can open it, and so mine is going to open using VS Code, which is my preferred IDE. So once that opens, I'm going to have this. So I can already get a feel for my data set, what I'm working with. So I can see what I'm working with here. I can see Manchester City Women's Football Club. So you can just go over here to have a feel of it if you want to. Now with that said, now let's head over to Power BI and let's start getting this little project done. So we're in Power BI now to start creating our shop maps. So the first thing to do is to get in data. So I'm going to go to get data and select more. Then I'll head up to order and select Python script. And I'm going to connect since I want to enter a Python script to read in my data. So you can get data in form of CSV format, but you can also get your data in by typing in some Python script. So that's what we're going to be using now. So I'm just going to type in, go to my notepad to copy and paste this script. So this script is just about installing your NumPy pandas, which are like the basic Python libraries, right? Data analysis, and then you get your stats bomb, which is where our data source is from. So if you're going to work along with this project, give credit to stats bomb for the data, and mplsoccer is going to be the library for plotting our pitch, and from mplsoccer I'm going to import the class SB open, I think. Yeah, so this class is what I'll use for loading in data from StatsBomb open data, right? Then this other code, this is just the event. So this is the event ID. So I've chosen a particular event data that I want to analyze. So I'm going to go ahead to load this in. So if you go to mplsoccer, you're going to see codes for helping you reading your data. So you can just type in mplsoccer and learn more about the documentation if this is something you're interested in, SWOT analytics. So now I'm going to hit OK. So a connection is going to be established at this point, and my data set is going to be read into Power BI. So the navigator window is open and the data is about to show us like a preview of itself. So our data set is arranged in the navigator window, so we can see it. We can select to see a preview of the data set. So I'm going to select to load in all these tables of data. So I'm going to select load. So the data set is being loaded in. And now, yes, we have our data sets over here. So we can come over to our data view so we can get a kind of like a glimpse of the data, right? So we can just get a feel of the data. So you have your ID column, you have your timestamp, which is like what time an event is happening, which is like the minutes, the seconds. You have your match ID, which is the match ID we use to retrieve this event data. We have the possession team name, the team in possession of the ball at the time. We have play pattern, we have the team names. So we see Chelsea FCW coming first. We see Reading WFC, so it's Chelsea women team, and then this is Reading's. So come over here, you can see the player names, and we can see the position of the players. So that's just it, basically just like a view of like the data, right? So now with that, let's go back to our report view. So now that we have like a view of the data set, what we are here to do is we're here to plot charts, right? So I'm just going to start writing down my Python script. So the first thing to do is to select your Python visual from the visualizations pane. And then the next thing you want to do is to drag a field value to your values. So you want to select a column and place it in your values because you can't generate any visual here without some field. So if you come ahead here to read this, you're going to see drag fields into the values area in the visualization pane to start scripting. So you can't write anything without that. So first things first, I'm just going to drag one of the column I'm going to be making use of, which is X, the short information. So once that is dragged in, this is what I'm going to get, right? So then the next thing to do is to import libraries. So I've been importing some basic Python libraries for analysis, and I'll import the class page from mplsoccer. So let's get into it. Importing the libraries. Import numpy as mp. Import pandas as pd. Import matplotlib.pyplot as plt. So alias that. And then finally, from mplsoccer, I'll import page. So this is going to help us with plotting our page. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to equate my data set to df. So once you want to reference any column in Python scripting in Power BI, you need to call it with the data set in front. But I want to make use of df instead. So I'm just going to make that easy. So df equals the data set. Next thing to do is I'm going to create a subset of the data. So I want a subset that is just containing the shorts, right? So I'll explain what I mean. What I want to do is I want to retrieve rows. So I want to access rows and columns of the data frame where the type name is short, and then I'll set the index to ID. So what I mean is I want to access rows and columns of this data frame where the event happening is a short being taken. So that's what I'm going to do now. So to get that, let's get into it. Creating a subset of the data frame. So I'm going to make use of, I'll just call it short, right? df.log, then df type name, which is the type name. I want one where the type name is short, right? So if you have a view of your data set, you'll be able to tell the columns you're referencing, the column name, and the event happening. So that will be much easier for you. So I've had a feel of the data set and I'm able to work with it. So I'm going to set index to ID. Next thing I want to do is I want to create the team names, or I want to get the team names rather. Getting the team names will be getting them from the column team name, right? So to do that, I want to use pandas.series.unique. I'm going to access that column and only return the unique values, and they're going to be 2, right? Because only 2 teams can play in a football match. So let's get the team names. Getting the team names. So that's going to be team 1, team 2. So I'm going to make use of this short data frame. Let's just make use of short dot team name, right? This will work dot unique. So this is like df.series.unique. So the data frame is short, the series or the column is team name dot unique. So now that's done. The next thing I want to do is create the page. So in creating the page, this is something we've done in our previous tutorial. So I wouldn't explain this too much. So let's just start creating the page. So page equals page, right? And then I'm going to specify the line color, the page color if I want, or I can just leave this blank depending. But I have some particular details that I want to include. So I want to have a specific line color here. So that's what I'm just going to enter. So I've chosen one which fits what I have in mind. So you can go ahead and select any color choice you want. If it's black, you can enter in black right now. But I'm entering in this color code of my choice right now. So 0526. Then I'm going to enter in my peach color. So if you have something else you want to go with, that would work as well. So peach color. So our peach color is also a data frame I've picked myself. So I'm just going to make use of ash, F2, F2, F2. So that's it. And then the next thing I would do is to create the figure on which I want to. So I'm creating a figure and then I'm creating one of the axes, which is just 1. And I'll create that to peach.draw. So I'm drawing and that peach.draw. So my peach is going to be drawn on this axis, which is the only axis, by the way. So I want to set the face color of the figure. So I'm just going to enter in fig.set face color. So if you want to understand what each of these does, you can also read the Python documentation as well. They call me Andy, and you can also check out this mplsoccer documentation to understand how to like write codes relating to football and sports in general, right? So fig.set face color, and I'm also going to make use of the same color code, which is this F2, 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 right? So this works well for me. This is fine. I want to specify the size of the pitch now in yards. So I'll be making use of StatsBomb. So StatsBomb has a pitch which is 120 by 80. So that's what I'm going to be making use of. So setting the pitch size in yards. Okay, what did I type in? Pitch size, yes, perfect. Pitch size in yards. So now this is where I'm going to just specify two variables, right? So this is going to be pitch length, right? That was 120 yards. Then I could just make it pitch length, the x, because this is the part of it, this is it. And then let's specify our pitch width. I'm just making use of that. Pitch width y, this is going to be 80, right? Let's make this 80. Yeah. Next thing I want to do is I want to plot, or I want to set the circle size. So I'm plotting shots, right? I hope we haven't forgotten that. So we're about plotting shots in a football match, and I'm going to be making use of circle, right? So I want to specify the size of this circle that is meant to be plotted. So I'm just going to write setting circle size, and then I'll go ahead to specify that. So I'm just going to say circle size equals to 2, right? So that's it. So the next thing I want to do is I want to plot the shots. This is like where we've been coming to all along. So I want to plot the shots, right? And for my shots data frame, I have every row is like an event. Every row is a shot is happening every row. So what I want to do is I want to get the information of every shot taken. So I created a shot data frame which I subset. I created a subset from the data frame. And now in that shot data frame, I want to get specific informations of the shot from each. So I want to iterate over every row, right? So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be creating like a loop, right? So this means I'm going to be like iterating over it. So for this, you're going to make use of the for I row in df, which is your data frame dot iteros. So that's what it's going to do. It's going to go over and kind of like a loop and iterate over everything. So let's get into it. So instead of just writing it, so let me just give it. So what I'm trying to do is plotting the shorts, right? Plotting the short. So I'm going to write a for, since I'm iterating, for loop for I row. Each row is a short information. So short in the data frame is the short data frame I'm referencing. Short dot iteros. So I want it to iterate over every row, right? Dot itero, right? So for this, I want it to retrieve certain information for me. So I need certain information in helping me to plot this. So to plot a shot, I need to get the kind of like the coordinates, right? I need to get the X and the Y value so I can be able to plot the shot. Also, I would like an additional information like if this is a goal or not. So I want to be able to specify if it is a goal, and later on, if it's a goal, I want to know who scored the goal as well. I would also like to get the team name of the event happening. I want to know if it's team one that is taking the shot or team two. So let me get into getting the information. So I'll get the X value. So to get the X value, I'm just going to be getting it from the short data frame now, short DF, short X rather, short X. And then I can just copy and paste this for the Y value as well. Control C, Control V, what am I typing? Control V. So I'll just call this Y. Let's give this some breathing room. Yes. Then I'm going to want to, like I said earlier, I want to know if this is a goal, right? If the shot resulted in a goal. So goal equals to shot, so outcome name. So I'm referencing the outcome name. So I want to know when is the outcome name a goal. So outcome, don't forget your parentheses, your quotes, I mean, your quote. So outcome name, yeah. goal. So you can have other outcomes that you want to tell, like if it's not a goal, maybe if it's missed, maybe if it's blocked, you want to know which shots were blocked, like you want to go into analysis of that. You can do that as well. So the next thing I want to know is which team actually. So I'm going to type team name, right? So I want to know which team is in possession of the ball, which team took the shot, right? So shot, and then the same way as the rest, team name, right? So now that I've gotten these informations, which are going to be helpful, now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and start plotting. So I'll be creating a nested if statement. So before I do that, let me explain what I'm thinking, what I'm trying to do. So for this nested if statement, what I want to do is basically I want a code that runs like this. I want to see check if the team is team one. So team name, team one. So if the team is team one, I want it to check if it's a goal. And if it's a goal, I want it to execute this. If it's not a goal, execute this instead. And if it's team two, I wanted to check if it's a goal. If it's not a goal, execute the other statement. So basically, that's how it's nested within, right? So we'll go ahead to write that so you get it. So I'll start with if team name is team one, we're going to use the comparison team one, right? Don't forget your colon. You don't want to forget that. If this condition is met, the next thing it's going to do is it's going to check if it's a goal, right? Sorry, not this goal. If it's a goal, right? So if it's a goal, what do I want this to run? What I want it to run is to get me a circle, a short circle. So I want it to plot that for me. So I'm going to create this variable called short circle. I don't know why my typing is off. Short circle, and I'm going to like make use of matplotlib plt.circle, which you can use to plot. And then I'm going to call in the two variables, which is the x and the y coordinate I want to use in plotting that. So once I call in that, I'm going to also call in my circle size as a parameter. So I'm feeding it the size I want it to be. So circle size fed in. Next thing I want to do is I want to specify the color of my shorts, right? So I want to pick color, let's say color red for now. Let's use color red. I'm going to select color red. So also, if it's a goal, I want to know the player that actually scored the goal. So I'm going to like create a code that is going to create a text of the player's name. So plt.text, and then I'm going to specify the location I want it to be placed at. So what I'm going to do here is, so the shot is placed at location X and Y. So I want my text to be placed a little bit close to that, right? So I'm going to add one more plus one to location X, and then I'm going to subtract two from location Y, from Y, right? So I want it to be placed close to the short, right? And then once this is done, what I want it to also specify is the player's name. So I'm also going to include that as well. So I'll include the player's name, which I'm going to get from the short data frame. So short player's name, what am I writing, please? Player's name, player name. Right. So I'm writing this code. I just want to finish with that. So if it's not a goal, what do I want this to do? I want it to go over an else statement, right? Else statement. So else, what should I want? I want you to still plot a circle, right? I still want that information that is in short. So let me just enter that in. Short circle, plt.circle, sorry, this is wrong. circle. So plt dot circle with a capital C, and then I'm going to enter in the information as well, which is x and y coordinates, right? So x and y, and then still the same circle size information to be passed in and color, right? So it's just like a simple copy and paste. So you can just copy that and paste that in, circle size and color red. So the next thing I want to do is, this is not a goal. So I want to differentiate between shots that were converted into goals and just shots, right? So what I want to use to differentiate between that is color. So I want to use the hue of the color, like the how deep the color is. So I want the transparency to, I want to introduce transparency into the shot. So that is what I'm doing right now. So I'm just going to use my alpha. You always use alpha for like transparency, right? So short circle, set alpha transparency to 0.2 or anything that looks okay. So now if it is not team 1 with the event happening, what do I want it to do? I want it to go to the next statement, which is the else statement, right? And once it's here, I want it to check if it's a goal as well. So if it's a goal, I want it to still plot the same information but different. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do now. So if it's a goal here, right, I want to be able to plot the shots taken for the two teams on the opposite sides of the pitch. So I don't want them plotted together. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to make use of the pitch width and the pitch length I initiated earlier. So short circle equals to plt.circle, capital C, sorry. So instead of writing in my x, I'm going to subtract my x coordinates from the pitch length. So that's how I'm going to do this now. So pitch length minus x, right? And then I'm going to do the same for the pitch width as well. So pitch width y minus y. And then the same information needs to be entered in, which is the circle size. What's the size I'm filling in for this short I'm plotting for this circle I'm plotting? And then what color do I want this to have? I want this to have red, or do I want this to have like blue, right? So I'm going to enter in blue. Also, I want the same information, which is the player name. So plt dot text. So now I'm going to make use of this same information here, which is x minus x, but now I'll be adding +1 and then I'll be subtracting 2, just as there. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to write, let me just copy and paste this instead of typing this. Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Right. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to add words here. I'm going to add +1. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to subtract 2 from here as well. So that is the information. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to enter in the player's name. So I would have to reference it from the short, right? So the short player name. So once that is referenced, the next thing, if it's not actually a goal, then an else statement has to follow. So I'm going to take an else statement. So one thing I should mention is, like, your indentation actually matters when once you're writing your nested if statement. So if you want your code to actually run in the right matter, you have to take care of your indentation, right? So with that being said, let's continue. So else statement. So else, what I wanted to do, I wanted to still replicate something like this. So I'm just going to come over here and copy this, Ctrl C and paste. So I'm just going to make some edits to that, Ctrl V, right? So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to change this information here to this information. So let me just copy this Let's copy this, Ctrl C, and let's paste this here, Ctrl V. So that's okay, right? Yeah, that's okay. The color is just off here though. It's red, it should be blue, right? Just blue. So I've done the whole statement to create the plot. Now I need to add this to my axis. So I'm going to need to add this. I'm going to add this right now. So you're just going to make sure that you follow along with your indentation, right? So as you can see, I'm still in the for loop, right? So I'm still in my for loop. So I'm going to add my ax.add patch. So I'm going to be adding what my short circle, which are created. So that's what I'm going to add in. Next thing I want to do is to set the size of my figure in inches. It's just something I played around with, and yeah, so fig dot set the size inches, right? Inches. So just set that to 10 and a 7. And then what I want to do next is to actually add a bit of text into this. So what I want to do is I want to include like the data source. I want to give credit to start one before offering us their open data source, free data source. And then I would like to give this a title as well. But let's first run this and see how it goes. So the most important part of running this code is I can go ahead and run this thing now and nothing will happen. And that's because nothing, when I mean nothing, I don't mean nothing, right? Something will happen, you get an error, right? So that's why you're going to get an error, and that's because there is no values here. So any column name you're calling here in your code, which is over here in your script editor, you need to make sure that you're dragging it from your fields and you're placing it at your values, and it's in the right summarization. So here now we're not supposed to have it summarized. We don't need it summarized. So don't summarize your X and your Y, please. So now I'll just go over my code. So this is something you can do once you're done. Exactly what I wanted to point out. So with this running, you get this error message, can't display the visual. So let's go ahead with some error codes. Let me just show you that as well. Let's see what it says. So you see key error type name. So I just want to let you know that once you see an error like this, it's telling you basically that you do not have this column in your values. So that's what it's saying. So this type name was like the code is going to run what line by line. So if it gets to a line and it doesn't satisfy the condition, it's not in the values, it will not run. So let me go directly and show you that. So if you notice, once you come around here, the first thing you see is your type name, and it's not here, it's not in your values, so it's not going to run. You get an error code. So if you keep getting an error, you need to check that all your fields are in your values. So with that said, and let's not waste time on this video, we don't want it to be too long, right? So I'm going to get my type name. So to make it easier, you can just search by typing, right? So that makes it very easy to work in Power BI. So just need to search whatever you need and it's there for you. So you have your type name, you have your team name as well. So you want to get your team name. So I get my team name in. And then what you want to get next. So I'm just scrolling through to see all my variables I used or all my variables I'm needing in plotting my short, which is the Y variable is important as well. So I'll drag and drop my Y. And outcome name, is it a goal? So that column is needed as well. Outcome name. And see this again, summarizing. Please, I do not want you to summarize, so don't summarize, right? Now, The next thing is we've gotten our team name. Okay, we have not gotten our player name. Yes, so we need to get that player name in as well. And we set our index to ID, which we need that in. So ID, let's get that ID in as well. ID, let's get the ID in. So what else are we missing? I don't think we're missing anything, right? So our code should. Okay, so we've gotten an error, and this is what you exactly see. So you see whenever you get an error message, you have something to work with. So you can see that we made a mistake. Did you mean errors? So this is how you get to see that as well. So errors are not something to fear. I mean, we don't like getting errors, but then we can work with them, right? So you can work with that. So I'm just going to come over here and edit this. Where is it? So in my for loop, right, I called iteros. So I'm going to go ahead and edit that. And I'll click run. Okay, let's see details. Okay, and this is the final point I was trying to make. I hope you get it that this means once you get this error message, one thing you need to know is you actually have no problem with your code, except the fact that you didn't call plt.show. So the Python code didn't result in creation of any visuals. So make sure it results in a plot. So once you get this, no image was created. It's not exactly telling me there's an error, but it's telling me like I'm not calling anything for Python and Power BI to work with, right? So you need to call plt.show. So that's just it. Let's call plt.show and let's run this again. So yes, and this is how it works basically. So this is how you get your code as. So if you want to change it, if you want to make this difference, because Bethany England and Eric Cooper, this are all Chelsea players, right? So this is the Chelsea team. So you want to like change your color. So what you can do here is just let's edit this and let's modify the color to blue, right? Blue. Let's change this to red and to red. So next thing I want to do, I just want to show you how this would run, right? Next thing I want to do is add a bit of context to it. Add something like the title, and also I want to give credit to StatsBomb for offering us their data sets to work with. And yeah, so let's add that before we call plt.show. So let's start with plt.text first, right? So let me just enter here plt.text. What I want to do is I want to find a specific point is this, and I'm going to make it 100 and 86. So if you can tell exactly what I'm thinking is this full length is what is 120. So 100 is going to be somewhere around here, like close to the edge of it. And that's what I'm just going for basically, right? So something around that figure. So let's go with that now. And let me include the data source. Data source starts bomb, right? Next thing is I want to include the title as well. So I'm going to use plt.title for this, and I'm going to call it, what's our title? What's our title? Well, you can check your data sets. This is readings and Chelsea FCW. So just for you to have a feel of that as well once you get your data set. So this is what we're working with. This is our data set once again. We have Chelsea FCW and reading WFC. So Women Football Club. So I can just call this readings, right? Readings, right? Readings WFC, and they have what shorts? They have red shorts. Though we can't see that now. Let me just run this first. Okay, I might get error. I don't want to get errors because I'm not done typing. I don't want to get errors. Okay, I don't think I will. Okay, so yeah, you can see readings have the red shorts, right? So let's just give them red shorts. And Chelsea and Chelsea men football club. No, I want this to be FCW, right? Shorts. So what I thought about was it's better or it might be easier for people to be able to like get the story. So if you're creating something and you're trying to like pass off a message of maybe like life and health and maybe vibrancy, you can maybe want to use green, right, to pass that message across. So as I'm trying to pass a message about Chelsea, I want to go with color blue. So I feel if you see blue immediately, you think about Chelsea. I mean, they're called the Blues for a reason, right? So let's show our font size. So let me set the font size to be. Let's set the font size to be what? Let's set that to be 20. Is that good enough? Readings WFC red shorts and Chelsea FCW blue shorts. Font size of 20. So this is where our figure size is going to help. So yeah, so this is it. So this is how you let's tap out. So this is how you create like a football shot in Power BI. So let's turn off this title. Let's make this visually appealing, right? So I like to clean up. So let's clean up. So turn off the title first. I'm going to go to my effects. This white background here, I want to make it this same background, gray as well. Doesn't matter, just my choice, personal preference. So more colors, and I'm going to change this since I know what my X code is, which is F2, F2, F2. Pretty easy to remember, right? So now that's done, and you can just tap on anywhere outside to leave the visualization pane. So now this is how you create, and you can see your little reference, your little text for start one data. So yeah, that's how you create, or that's how you plot football shots in Power BI. So thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something or two, or maybe three. As usual, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you in the next video.